4 years ago, Roblox myths were flourishing. The community was growing very rapidly, and the content about it was rich. Now, it feels like everyone who was part of the community years ago wishes we could go back. Those who weren't are asking why the community is failing when it once was flourishing. Hello, my name's Core, and I've been in and out of the myth community for 5 years. Over the months, I've watched interest in myths slowly decline, so I'm here today to ask the question, why are Roblox myths failing? Also, thank you so much for 850 subscribers. I know I disappeared for a few months, but in my defense, I was actually... Before I begin, I want to give a quick warning. This video mentions pedophilia, grooming, abuse, manipulation, and other just uncomfortable topics. Please watch with caution and be safe. I'll try to add warnings verbally before I start talking about anything upsetting, but I might not catch it all, so just be safe. As always, even with the evidence I provide, everything I say is alleged. I'm not saying that anything is solid fact, even with evidence, and I don't mean to harass or send any hatred towards anyone mentioned in this video. This video is an analysis of the myth community and its current state. A bit of context for people unfamiliar with myths. A Roblox myth is a story that's typically spooky or scary in some way. The myth story is told using Roblox as a medium, and they're very similar to creepypasta stories or urban legends. They began picking up popularity in 2016 with popular creators like Flamingo and I hope I'm saying this right, Enzo, creating videos documenting their myth hunts in various games. For a few years, the community thrived. Ideas and games were booming. One of the reasons the community was doing so well was because of an organization called RM, or Roblox Myths. They were an organized myth hunting group that would schedule myth events. These events boosted the myth's popularity greatly and left members lingering and wanting more of the story. RM wasn't the only group to do this, but it was one of the biggest. At its peak, it reached more than 440k members, and that's a huge amount for the tiny corner of Roblox. The leader of this organization was Kazdam for a very long time. According to the myth community's page for him, accusations about Kazdam were released in 2020, but he began facing criticism as early as 2018. Among these accusations were pedophilia, grooming, abuse, and manipulation. As confirmed by Kazdam, he was 21 and not 13 as he'd originally claimed. He was also allegedly multiple popular myths like Goldity and Chuck Lloyd. He resigned from his position as the leader of RM after his empire began falling apart around him. Many myths seemed to follow in the footsteps of Kazdam's disappearance. Each time the community took a step forward, they seemed to take 2 steps back. After the collapse of RM Foundation, a chunk of the myth community seemed to disappear suddenly overnight. Kazdam rattled the community and was one of the first dramas that showed Roblox myths aren't as wholesome as they might seem. Shortly after this controversy, even creators like Flamingo began to leave the community. In 2013, Flamingo makes a video explaining why he left. To quote him,
he became a danger to children. Yeah, not to make the most direct call out, but this guy kind of left the platform. You know, he ran one of the largest myth groups, and he also owned a lot of the myths, apparently, that like the big creepypastas were kind of co-written or helped develop by him. So a lot of different things kind of fell apart from him being like a really just a danger to minors. I think there was like a lot of toxicity within the community. You know, there's a lot of great people in the community. I don't want to make it sound like it was all bad by any means. Just a couple things led I feel snowballed into people not being into them as much anymore. I'm sure it could be built back up. I hope it is. I think the community needs a little boost.
If you want a deeper history of the community, I linked a few videos that explain the timeline in further detail. Since the infamous death of RM, the myth community has slowly been declining and plateauing. Even on the content creator side, many videos that come up when you search Roblox myths discuss the past. So what caused the decline to continue after RM, and is the community able to recover from it? Much like any other community that involves writing, Roblox myths have always been competitive for attention and quality, but in recent years, with the introduction of new outlets to create content and better coding, the demand for better and quicker myths has significantly risen. What once could have been created by one person and seen as well-made is now seen as kind of outdated. Some people lean into the indie DIY ideas that let your guard down. One of the best myths I can think of that uses this method is Kazdam. The first impression you get when you enter their game is that it's lonely, quiet, and a little bit boring. There doesn't seem to be much coding, and the creator carefully leans into how arrogant people can be when they're investigating myths. If you plan on staying longer, you'll learn that there are speakers that give you instructions, power outages, and a monster uniquely designed to fit the lore. When you put all of it together, the familiarity with old Roblox mixed with the unique ideas and originality makes you unsettled, almost like an uncanny valley. On a side note, Kazdam might be the scariest myth I've ever investigated. Not because of the monsters, or the sounds, or the jump scares, but because of how it takes you by surprise. You literally do not see it coming, and that was the first Roblox myth game I've ever screamed at before. It's scary. I love it. There's no reason you cannot be simple and high quality at the same time, but unfortunately, many new members of the myth community don't seem to understand that. The quality of Roblox games in general has risen to something most solo myths cannot compete with. To add on to this, the demand for lore is also taxing. Writing lore takes time to do, and following through with it tastefully takes longer. Many people creating these myths are people who are still in school, so it's an even longer wait for them to get the product they desire. This makes some people lose interest and exhaust the creator. Many new members are also influenced by original myths, like the Cult family or the Smiles family. This isn't a bad thing necessarily, but if your lore is so similar that people can pick up on the inspiration behind it, maybe it's time to rewrite a little bit. Many people, especially older members, will view the lore as uninspired and overdone, and some don't give the myth a second chance. And even after all of this, there will always be someone better, someone who's been in the community for longer, who has more experience building or storytelling, whatever. Someone who's a beginner myth could be overlooked because of their lack of experience. This is the reality for many things in life, and something many people have to accept. This can be disappointing, which makes them reluctant to try to make another attempt at a myth. For them, my message is to keep at it. People will appreciate and notice your work, and if they don't, it's really not the end of the world, okay? At the end of the day, it's just a video game. Do what you enjoy, write what you enjoy, and if people tell you it's not good enough, they're probably wrong. Unlike some other communities, your achievements are not marked. When you reach a certain number of subscribers on YouTube, you're sent different awards, such as being able to monetize your videos when you hit 1,000, or a silver plaque when you reach 100k. But there are no set milestones for being a myth, so there's no winning. Some could argue that myth hunting groups set their milestones for myths, but these can be corrupt or too prestigious to make regular myths feel like they've reached some success with their storytelling. Again, because of the constant demand for myths to be better, there's no way to fully reach success as a myth. Everything you do can and will be taught by someone else. It doesn't mean that your content isn't good, it just means that someone else has been doing it for longer and has more experience. I think imposter syndrome is also a big part of any community that involves creating. You can have an amazing storyline, but if you lack confidence, you might never publish it. I've also noticed this in art and writing communities. Many people hold themselves to practically unreachable standards. Sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith to start your own myth. Another huge factor in myths is that everyone has a different opinion. Because there's no set structure or definition to the myth community, many people fill in the gaps with their own experiences. They find structure within various groups like RM, and they define myths on their own. Your opinion on myths and how they should be made can be completely different from mine. Many people are old-fashioned and believe that myths should be more like they were in Kazdam's era. Other people believe those myths were too edgy and serious, and myths should be more lighthearted like Grocery Gang. This isn't a new concept to myths. It's one of the things that makes the community so special and unique, but it also divides people. If you dedicate yourself to making everyone happy, you'll never get anywhere as a Roblox myth. Quick warning, in this segment I talk about pedophilia and grooming a bit. To say there's a lot of drama in the myth community is kind of an understatement. It seems like every time things with one person quiet down, another situation somewhere else pops up. It could be argued that the community pulls things up from the past. This is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it shows you what kind of person someone used to be and how they still could potentially be. But it's important to note that people change, and it's unfair to treat someone like they're going to be a bad person in the future because of their actions from the past. This being said, and I don't mean to sound preachy, but people can be dangerous. One of the most infamous cases of an alleged predator in the myth community is Kazdam, the owner of RM that I talked about earlier. He was one of the biggest minds and names of myths, so when he was exposed for using his position to take advantage of followers, it rattled the community. From personal experience, Kazdam showed many of us that not all Roblox myths were our age. Not everyone in the community had our best interests in mind. He wasn't the only one who took advantage of the fact that the community was full of children seeking attention. There's a long blacklist documenting people who have committed various acts that the community sees as unforgivable. These people's usernames and alternate accounts are listed, giving users caution. They also write down the danger level, so what they're saying is someone who's a toxic jerk who hurt a lot of people isn't on the same level as a pedophile. Now I'm going to get a little bit personal and a little bit preachy. In 2019, which was right around when Kazdam's allegations started to kick up and people started to speak up about it, I was a very active member of the myth community. I couldn't get enough of it. How do I say this? I was exposed to a lot of things through the community that I should not have seen, and the people who were disgusting towards me didn't face many repercussions, if any. And at that time, there were a lot more people doing what Kazdam was doing. He just happened to be the one to get caught. Sometimes the myth community nowadays is said to be too sensitive to allegations, but as someone who saw what it was like without the blacklist and without people being a little bit hyper-aware, I'd rather be safe. Not everyone sees it the same way, and the sheer amount of drama that happens in the community can be very deterring. I wanted to find out if other people had another take on the state of the community. I reached out to William Weiser and asked him for his opinions on the state of the myth community currently. William is a host and manager of the Mythin It podcast, which is a cafe game / podcast group that interviews different popular myths and talks about the concept of a myth. William has been a member of the community for about 3 months, so he's a very new myth, even though he's successful. He told me to add that part in, by the way.
Hi.
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 Do you believe Roblox myths are failing?
Yes, I think they're all failing. Okay, people are going to extreme measures to take down the myth community, and no one wants to be involved in all that drama. Everyone who's oh, I don't want to be in drama. I just want to make my own game. Always gets in some drama. If it's from hate, and they're I don't even know. And most of the myths are they're not original anymore. They're always being those grocery gangs or some family myth. There's nothing original, and there's always gonna be a small little spot of the nice myth community that makes nice, cool original myths. But the majority of the community is they're dickheads. I'm gonna be honest. A majority of them.
Do you think that the myth community burns out creators before they can start their myth and actually progress their story at all?
You know, if you burn out before you start making a myth, or while you're starting making a myth, just it's not for you, okay? If you're gonna make a myth, have some real passion to it. Don't just start because oh, I'm gonna be so famous, I'm so excited, and then give up midway. You have to have an idea and really want to show people your idea. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you have any ideas on how they can get a better start and how they can show their ideas off better?
Okay. That's really hard for me to tell, cause I don't really know. Maybe fine. Okay, you have to establish an entire point of a game before you start. Make something unique. Think to yourself oh, someone done this before? Is there any way someone has done this before? Look at a couple myths. Don't worry about being popular or anything. Just worry about what you want to show people, okay? Just worry about your little small community. Engage with them. Engage with the community, okay?
One more question. I know this is whoa, surprise. But back to the people getting into drama. Do you have any suggestions on how to not get into drama or how to just avoid that?
Just be nice. Just be nice to people. Don't be rude. Just be oh, if you have a problem with a game and you're you want to help them out, don't just be your game is shit. Fix it. You're gonna be hey, I think your game has a good idea, but I think you need improvement in some aspects, and I would like to help you out. See, something like that. If someone came up to me and was like that, I'd be oh, I'll listen to this guy. He has some real criticism. Okay.
All right.
See, just be nice, be kind.
Yeah.
And
Alright.
don't get involved in bad people.
Do you think that people should be like you know the documents that people release where they're like, they did this, this, and this, and this when they were 12, so we should not talk to them and we should totally exclude them from our community. What do you think about that? Do you think that
Hey, if they change, they change, all right? I don't discriminate. If they said like very bad things like 2 to 3 years ago, and they're like now they're trying to like be good, like actually like feel sorry for what they did, give them a chance. Give them a chance. They might have changed. They want to change for the better. That you like downgrading them, saying, "Oh, he's a terrible person," is not gonna help him change.
Right, right. Well, thank you a lot for letting me interview you. I appreciate it. I'll see you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
A lot of current members seem to share the same opinion as William, which is that the old myth community is dead. In the past, myths as a whole have been critiqued for being edgy, problematic, or too mature for Roblox. These criticisms seem to calm down as Roblox issued age restrictions and required users to verify their age before giving them access to higher age games. So, also, this wasn't an intended segment of the video, but whatever. Remember how I mentioned Kazdam, like the 21-year-old who groomed a bunch of kids? Yeah, well, today is 1/20/24. I'm almost done with this video, right? Well, I sit down at my computer and I see a bunch of announcements in the myth servers I'm in. Today, Kazdam logged onto his account for the first time in a while and had this to say about the state of the community. I did cut the statement down for a bit of brevity, but I'll link Kazdam's profile. His full statement is in his description, or at least it is 1/21/24 when I'm voice acting, so, you know.
I'm a very different person now. Time tends to change people, especially after major events like what happened. I'll try to publicly answer a few questions. Most myth stories like Shade Light, the original Cole family story, etc. If the large documents and read out length, but were deleted a very long time ago. No, I'll not be able to help anyone with their projects or myths, but I wish you success with them. Before I log off, hopefully, the last time, I try to rebuild this community. It's disheartening to see what happened over the last few years, and from what I've read, it's held a special place to too many hearts.
This is very interesting to me. I could spend a lot of time talking about this message and dissecting it, but for right now, I want to talk about the last paragraph. It's disheartening to see what happened over the last few years. I find this a bit ironic because many people agree he was the main reason the myth community fell apart. It feels unfair to ask the community to rebuild itself when he was the main reason people began leaving. Kazdam seems to share the same opinion many of the older members of the community have, which is that the old style of Roblox myths will never fully come back. But a lot of people's opinions differ from his when he says that the community needs repairing or healing. The community he led was toxic, and the system he laid out was rigged in his favor. I'd say arguably the community is better for expressing your creative ideas. The concept of a myth is much less formatted now, which allows for ideas to be told more like ARGs and less like, well, Kazdam myths. But for everything he did and everything wrong in this message alone, he was right about one thing. The community will hold a special place in many hearts. Roblox myths are a unique niche part of the website. There will never be anything like the community and culture surrounding it. Because of some controversy, some parts were lost and may never come back. But whether the community is failing will always be an unanswered question because it depends on your perspective and definition of myths. The old myth community is gone, just like the myths associated with it. But hopefully, so is the toxicity, grooming, and harassment. But that doesn't mean that the future of myths is doomed. Regardless, the community will always be dear to many people's hearts, and there will always be a story to tell using Roblox. If you choose to use Roblox as your medium, no one will stop you. Just do what you want and don't worry about other people's opinions. And at the end of the day, it really is just a video game platform and just a story. Like, it is not that big of a deal. Thank you so much for listening. Also, thank you so much for 850 subscribers. That's actually, like, crazy. I don't know. I don't understand. But whatever. My channel has a bigger population than the Vatican City. I love you guys so much. Thank you to Matt for voicing Kazdam and William Weiser for being my interview buddy. Matt's Instagram will be in the description below, as well as Will's 2 Discord servers and Roblox group. And I am really sorry for leaving for like 6 months. A lot of stuff has been going on in my life lately, and talking about Roblox myths on YouTube just wasn't my first priority. But I'm back with some exciting new things in the work, which you can see and hear about in my Discord. So go join, please. On my knees right now, begging, go join. Go join my Discord right now. Only cool people will join my Discord. Anyway, peace. I love you guys. Mwah. That was gross. I don't want to do that anymore. That was yucky.